Hi, Karen. This is Don. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Thanks.
Great. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. I want to wish everyone a good afternoon and welcome you to the Atom Alliance Quality Innovation Network Learning in Action Network event, the Quality Payment Program Year 2018 Alternative Payment Model Overview. My name is Don Gettinger. I'm one of our QPP subject matter experts here at the Atom Alliance. The next slide, please. As you may know, Atom Alliance is a 5-year, 5-state initiative to unite.
This conference will now be recorded.
Ignite powerful and sustainable change in healthcare quality. We welcome participants from Alabama, Indiana, Kentucky, Mississippi, and Tennessee, and elsewhere if you're from out from 5 states. I want to thank you for taking the time to join us. We appreciate all you do to improve the quality of care and achieve better outcomes in health and healthcare at a lower cost for the patients and communities we serve. Next slide. Before I begin, I want to touch a few housekeeping items. First, we do have the mic muted at this time to reduce background noise and improve sound quality. However, your participation is a valuable part of today's meeting. We want your questions, we want your comments. So if that's your line for a comment or question, all you have to do is press star 2 at any time. We also have a chat feature, and just depending on how your window's set up, it's either on the right side or on the top of your screen. We will have someone from the Alliance monitoring the chat as we move through the presentation and the questions today, so you can also post in. We also have a number of polling questions, and there might even be a pop quiz at the end of the presentation. So please stay tuned, engage, and we thank you once again for joining us. And this, I'd like to introduce you to our speaker today, Sue Anderson.
Thank you, Don, and welcome everyone to this APM overview session. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to join us. Let me start by first putting your mind at ease about the pop quiz that Don mentioned. It's not a quiz to measure what you've learned. Rather, it's meant to measure how good of a job I did explaining this topic. My hope is that the questions will also spark further conversation because, as is the case for all office hour sessions, this is your time to ask us your QPP questions. As I said, today we're focusing on alternative payment models in the Quality Payment Program. Before we open up the line for questions, I want to spend a little bit of time reviewing APMs under MIPS. The objectives for today's session include defining the terms APMs, MIPS APMs, and Advanced APMs. We'll review the tracks under the QPP 2018 program year. I'll show you how to determine your APM status. We'll discuss the importance of the 2018 Snapshot Dates. We'll talk a little bit about the scoring standard and the opportunities that you have for bonus points. We'll review the reporting requirements, and I'll help you understand your responsibilities versus the APM's responsibilities. There's enough to understand about MIPS APMs. And so I will not be adding to the complexity by discussing advanced APM rules or all payer advanced options. So to get our fingers familiar with the keyboard and the chat function of the webinar, I'd like to just do a few introductory polling questions. The first question is, what is the size of your practice? If you have a TIN that has 15 or less NPIs underneath it, then choose the first choice, small practice size. If you're a TIN that is 15 or greater, then choose the large practice size. Once you select your answer in the WebEx polling box, please click Submit so we can record your answer. We like to start every office hours session with this polling question because some of the Quality Payment Program rules are different depending on the size of the practice we are talking about. The CMS has worked really hard to make the Quality Payment Program less daunting for small practices by giving them special allowances or bonuses. And as we will see later on, some small practice allowances are applicable to APMs too. Okay, so it looks like all the people that answered, it's about half and half, small and large practices. Great. Okay, so let's move on. Next polling question. Do you currently participate in an APM? If you don't know what an APM is, that's okay. Just answer one of the no options to let us know how you are feeling at this moment in time. At a high level, APM stands for Alternative Payment Model, and it's a different way of paying for health care that incentivizes quality and value rather than traditional fee for service. There's many different alternative payment models to choose from, which you will see in the next couple of slides. Okay, well, while we're waiting for an answer to that question, let's move on. And I just have a third question to ask everybody. Oh, we have the polling answer. Okay, so of the people that answered, the majority are considering joining an ATM. So that's really good to know here today. There's a couple of them that are in an ATM already, and there's a couple of them that are interested in joining an ATM, and that's perfectly fine. Okay, the third question, were you subject to the MIPS APM reporting requirements in 2017? Answer yes, if you know that you were. No, if you know for a fact that you weren't. And don't be shy about saying, I don't know. While we wait for this polling question to close, I want to thank my Adam Alliance counterparts who have joined me on this webinar as panelists ready to answer your questions. They provide QPP technical assistance in their respective states, and together I'm confident we can handle any question that you throw at us. And if we can't answer a particularly tough question, we will put you in touch with a QPP expert in your state to follow up with you after the call. So let's give it a couple more seconds to see if we can get the answer, and here we go. Okay, it's a little more on the no side than the yes side. So it looks like we have a fair number of people that are relatively newcomers to MIPS APM, so that's good. Okay, I hope that you find this presentation informative. Okay, so let's start out with some definitions. As I said earlier, APMs are approaches to paying for health care that incentivize quality and value. APMs can apply to a specific condition, a care episode, or population. Under the umbrella of APMs, there's something called MIPS APMs. MIPS APMs are those APMs that are subject to QPP. A subset of those MIPS APMs qualify to be an advanced APM under the Quality Payment Program. Both MIPS APMs and advanced APMs were defined in the QPP Year 1 Final Rule, and these definitions have not changed for 2018. The term APM entity is used to describe an entity that participates in an APM through a direct agreement with CMS. For QPP purposes, CMS uses an APM entity identifier to accurately capture all of the eligible clinicians that are participating in a particular APM. To be a MIPS APM, there's three criteria that must be met. First, the APM must be operating under an agreement with CMS. Secondly, there needs to be at least one MIPS-eligible clinician on the APM participation list. And third, the APM payment is based on cost and utilization and quality. As I said earlier, there's some MIPS APMs that qualify to be an advanced APM. There are special criteria that must be met to qualify, and CMS makes these determinations at the start of each performance year. There's two APM tracks within the Quality Payment Program for APMs. One track is for MIPS APMs. The second track is for advanced APMs. If you're in an advanced APM, and you achieve certain threshold levels, you may become what's known as a qualifying participant. You may be excluded from MIPS reporting requirements and payment adjustments, and you may qualify to earn an incentive. If you're in a MIPS APM, you are not excluded from MIPS, but you may be scored using a special APM scoring standard. As I said, today we're going to focus exclusively on MIPS APMs. Advanced APMs have their own sets of rules, and so are best covered in a different office hours session. Okay, so how do MIPS APMs work? Well, as indicated on the last slide, MIPS APMs are subject to QPP reporting. However, the reporting is streamlined and aligned with the reporting requirements of the particular APM. For QPP scoring purposes, the data is aggregated for each eligible clinician in the APM, and the APM entity, which may include multiple PINs, is assigned a final MIPS score. Each eligible clinician that CMS has identified as being in the APM entity receives the same MIPS final score. At the beginning of each QPP performance year, CMS determines which alternative payment model meet the criteria to be called a MIPS APM, and within this group, which MIPS APMs qualify as advanced APMs. For the 2018 performance year, CMS has identified 6 MIPS APMs. They include the Comprehensive End-Stage Renal Disease Care Model, the CEC model, the Comprehensive Primary Care Plus, or CPC Plus model, the Medicare ACO Track 1 model, the Medicare Shared Savings Programs Tracks 1 through 3, Next Generation ACO model, and the Oncology Care model. Most advanced APMs are also MIPS APMs, and as you can see in this table, all advanced APMs this year are also MIPS APMs. If an eligible clinician participates in an advanced APM that is also a MIPS APM, and the eligible clinician does not qualify to become a qualifying participant, the QP, that clinician will be scored according to the MIPS APM scoring standard. I know that was a mouthful, and I have a resource that I'm going to put in the chat window now that explains the MIPS APMs and that have been identified for 2018. Okay, so let's take a break and let's just see of the few that have said that they are in an APM model, let's see if they are one of the MIPS APMs for 2018. If you don't participate in any APM, if you don't participate in any APM, or you don't participate in an APM that's been identified by CMS as a MIPS APM, just go ahead and answer none of the above. Here again, if you're unsure if you participate in an APM, don't be shy about selecting I don't know. We'll give it a little bit more time, and what we're seeing is, okay, as I was kind of suspecting, most of the people that are in APMs at this point are in the shared savings program. Okay, so let's move on. So it's not enough to know whether you work whether you are under a MIPS APM. You also need to verify your individual APM status. In QPP 2017 performance year, CMS provided an online APM lookup tool, which was separate from the NPI lookup tool that clinicians use to verify their MIPS status. This year, CMS plans to merge the information provided by these two tools into one MIPS participation lookup tool, which is where you'll find on the QPP website. So you'll no longer need to go to 2 different places to check your MIPS status. APM status information is projected to be available via the MIPS Participation Lookup Tool later this spring. I just checked the lookup tool this morning, though, and the information is not published yet. But given that it's May, I'm hopeful that the information will be available shortly. You may have also recently received an email from CMS announcing the ability to look up MIPS status for all clinicians that work under a TIN. This new capability is available within the QPP data submission tool. In other words, you'll need to have your you need to log in with your EIDM account. And we've been told by CMS that the 2018 APM status information will also be available via this tool. In general, CMS uses Snapshot Dates to determine MIPS APM and advanced APM eligibility. In 2017, an eligible clinician was required to be on an APM participation list on at least one of the following 3 snapshot dates. That's March 31st, June 30th, and August 31st, in order for them to be considered part of the APM entity and be scored against the APM scoring standard. For the 2018 performance year, CMS has introduced a 4th snapshot date of December 31st, but this snapshot date is used exclusively for determining eligible clinicians that join what's known as a full TIN APM in the last quarter of the year. Full TIN APM means an APM where participation is determined at the TIN level, and all eligible clinicians who have assigned their billing rights to that TIN are therefore considered to be participating in the APM. Practically speaking, this means that this 4th snapshot date is currently only applicable to participants in the Medicare Shared Savings Program. Note that this last snapshot date is not used by CMS to make qualifying participant determinations for clinicians working in advanced APMs. If you're in a MIPS APM and required to report QPP, here are the reporting requirements for each quality payment program category. The quality category reporting period is a full year, whereas the improvement activity and promoting interoperability categories, formerly known as ACI or Advancing Care Information, is a minimum of 90 continuous days. Notice there are no cost category reporting requirements for MIPS APM. That's because APMs are already evaluated on costs under the alternative payment model that they participate in. CMS has changed and simplified the MIPS APM scoring standard for 2018. In 2017, the weighting for each category was different depending on the type of APM that you participated in. This year, all MIPS APMs will be subject to the same MIPS scoring standard, where the quality category is worth 50% of your final MIPS score, cost is worth 0%, improvement activities is worth 20%, and promoting interoperability is worth 30% of your final score. In addition to the scores that an APM receives for the quality, improvement activities, and promoting interoperability categories, there are 2 bonus opportunities that are new this year that can further boost an APM entity's final MIPS score by up to 10 points. An APM entity's final score may be increased by up to 5 points for treating complex patients, and if an APM entity meets the definition of a small practice. Remember that 15 clinicians or less, the APM entity's final score will be increased by another 5 points. Now, let's do a deeper dive into the MIPS APM rules for the quality, promoting interoperability, and the improvement activities categories. As I said previously, the quality category is worth 50% of the APM entity's final score in 2018. An APM quality category is based on the quality measures they are required to report under their respective APM conditions of participation. For Medicare Shared Savings Programs and Next next generation accountable care organizations, they're required under their conditions to report via the CMS web interface. And so CMS uses those measures reported through the web interface to calculate their quality category score. Note, there is an additional quality measure that CMS will use to evaluate shared savings programs and next generation ACOs this year, and that's the CAPS for ACO survey. Both of these models currently require the CAPS for ACO survey. It just wasn't counted in your QPP quality category score last year. There's nothing additional you need to do. This year, you just continue to do as you do with your quality reporting, including the CAPS for ACO survey in 2018, and CMS is just going to start using the CAPS for ACO information to calculate your quality category score this year. Other MIPS APM is a new CMS term that they use to identify a MIPS APM that does not report quality measures through the CMS web interface. If you participate in one of these, quote, other MIPS APMs, your QPP quality score will be based on the quality measures you report under that APM agreement. There are repercussions for not reporting any or all quality measures, and the rules differ depending on the APM that you participate in. Therefore, it's imperative that you talk with your APM management company to verify that they will be reporting quality measures on the APM entity's behalf. The final quality category score an APM entity receives will be based on their performance rate for each quality measure. Okay, that's called achievement points, plus any bonus points you receive for reporting high priority and or outcome measures beyond the minimum that are required. And new this year, there is an opportunity to earn additional points with a quality improvement score. CMS will automatically calculate a quality improvement score for an APM entity if they're able to compare 2018 quality measure performance rates to rates that were reported in the transition year. And an APM entity will receive between 0 and 10 percentage points, depending on their rate of improvement from last year to this year. There's a couple of APM resources that are quality category related, and I am going to put them in the chat at this point in time for your reference. Okay. Next, let's talk about the promoting interoperability category. Again, this used to be called the ACI, or Advancing Care Information category. And this year, it's worth 30% of an APM entity's final score. All of the MIPS clinicians scored under the APM scoring standard will get a MIPS final score based on the APM entity's combined performance. If you're in a shared savings program, each PIN under the APM entity is responsible for reporting the promoting interoperability category separately. And the APM entity's promoting interoperability score will be a weighted average of the PIN scores. For the next generation ACO model and all other MIPS APMs under the APM scoring standard, MIPS clinicians can report the promoting interoperability category either through group reporting or individual reporting. There are cases where the promoting interoperability category can be reweighted. And in the event that the promoting interoperability category is reweighted, then those points will move to the quality category. There are a few ways that you can boost your score in the promoting interoperability category. You can earn 10 to 15 percentage points for reporting to one or more public health registries or clinical data registries. You can earn 10 percentage points for using CERT to accomplish certain improvement activities. You can use, and you can earn 10 percentage points for using 2015 cert exclusively and reporting on this measure set. There's a QPP resource that's available already for promoting interoperability, and I'm going to share that now with you in the chat window. While the information in this resource is generally applicable for MIPS APMs, there are some distinctions that are not included in this document. In 2017, CMS created an APM fact sheet that explained these differences, and I'm hopeful that in the near future we'll see a MIPS APM fact sheet for 2018 that explains these differences. The last category to cover is the improvement activities category. The improvement activities category is worth 20% of the APM entity's final score in 2018. The most points you can earn in the improvement activity category is 40 points. Each activity is worth 10 or 20 points. Medium weight activities are worth 10 points each. High weighted activities are worth 20 points each. CMS determines on an annual basis how many activities and points each MIPS APM will automatically earn. And for 2018, CMS has already determined that all MIPS APMs will receive full credit for this category, and so no reporting is required. And there's also a resource that explains the improvement activities that each APM is getting credit for this year, and I'm putting that in the chat window for you at this point in time. Okay. One more thing, there is one more thing I want to call your attention to with the improvement activities. While you don't have to report the improvement activities category this year, there's still one case where it's advantageous for eligible clinicians or TINs in an APM entity to report this category. And that's if you wish to earn the 10 percentage point bonus in the promoting interoperability category. Okay, so that's it. Let's take a few moments now to sum up the key takeaways. But instead of me just listing them out here on a slide, I want to do a few polling questions just to see how good of a job I did explaining the material. Don't be shy about answering. I need you to tell me if there's an area that we need to review further. Okay. So the first question is, where do I go to check my MIPS APM and QP status for the 2018 performance year? Okay, the first choice is the MIPS participation lookup tool on the QPP website. The second choice is the QP lookup tool on the CMS website. The third choice is you don't need to bother because you were a QP in 2017, so you're automatically going to be the QP in 2018. Or fourth, you don't know. The key to this question here is the 2018 performance year. Okay, so of the people that answered, thank you very much. You are correct. It is the MIPS participation lookup tool on the QPP website. CMS is merging all of the MIPS information into this one tool. The APM information, again, is not yet available, but they said it's going to be late spring, and that's pretty much now, so hopefully any day we'll see an announcement from CMS that that information is available. Okay, next question. What are the benefits of the fourth snapshot date? Here I want you to select all that apply. This question is kind of tricky, so I want you to think about it carefully. Your first choice is it allows participants who join full TINs between September and December to benefit from the APM scoring standard. The second choice is the fourth snapshot date is used to make QP determinations. The third choice is there are only 3 snapshot dates. There is no fourth snapshot date. And the last choice is you don't know. Like I said, it's a little tricky, but don't sweat it. There's no grace here. Okay. So the correct answer is the first choice only. I did make it a little tricky, and I'm sorry about that. QP determinations are not done on that forced snapshot date. The only purpose of the forced snapshot date is to help identify eligible clinicians that join a full 10 between September and December of this year. Okay, next question. As a 10 that participates in a MIPS APM, what action should I take to ensure the quality category is reported? This one may be a little tricky too. You might think there's two possibly correct answers, but I want you to pick which one you think is the best or the safest choice. I want to make sure you don't miss out on earning the highest MIPS APM score possible in 2018. Your choices are, the 10 is responsible. Your second choice is, there's no action needed on your part. Oh, we got the answers already. And everybody, or most everybody, that answered got it right. While the 10 isn't responsible for reporting the quality measures, it's in your best interest to verify with your management company that they will report quality measures on your behalf. Okay, fourth question. This one's about promoting interoperability. Remember, again, this was known previously as the Advancing Care Information category. The question is, who is responsible for reporting the promoting interoperability category? Is it the APM entity? Is it each 10 that participates in the MIPS APM? Is it nobody, because everybody gets full credit in the promoting interoperability category? Or, if you don't know, then choose that one. That second choice there where it says each 10, that could be a 10 or it could be eligible clinicians within a MIPS APM. I want you to choose that one if it's the 10 or eligible clinician. Okay, we'll give people a couple more seconds to answer. Okay, and the majority of people answered correctly. It is each 10 that participates in the MIPS APM that's responsible for reporting the promoting interoperability category. You have to make sure that you report this category because you're not going to receive credit just by the mere fact that you're in a MIPS APM. Okay, we only have 2 more questions to go. Let's shift gears and think about improvement activities. Who's responsible for reporting the improvement activities category? Your choices are the APM entity, each 10, or again, it could be an eligible clinician that participates in the MIPS APM. No one, because everybody gets full credit. Or if you're not sure, then choose the I don't know. Now, when answering this question, I want you to think about the improvement activity score that an APM entity will receive if nobody reports the improvement activity category. The key word in the question is who's responsible. Give people a couple more seconds here. And the answer here, okay, the correct answer is nobody is responsible because you're going to automatically receive full credit, okay? But this one was a little tricky, and I can understand why some people would have chosen B. So let's go to the last question. Why would a 10 choose to report the improvement activities category? So it's a choice. You don't have to do it, but you might want to. And why is that? Do you want to do it because you can possibly increase your improvement activity score? Do you want to do it because you want to earn bonus points in the promoting interoperability category? Or is it all of the above, none of the above, or you don't know? This one might be a little tricky too. Give people a little bit more time. Okay, it wasn't tricky at all. Excellent. Well, there's a couple people that said all of the above. The correct answer is to earn bonus points in the promoting interoperability category. Because you're getting full credit already in the improvement activities category, if you report additional improvement activities, it's not going to change your score because it's capped at 40 points. Okay, so if you report 5 improvement activities that are worth 10 points each, your score is still going to be 40 out of 40 for the category. The benefit you get by reporting the improvement activities category is that promoting interoperability bonus. So here again, make sure it's not just reporting any activity. You have to look for activities that are CERT eligible. And if you report on a CERT eligible activity, then you will get that 10% bonus in the promoting interoperability category. Okay, so I just want to provide you with some links to resources where you can find more information regarding QPP and MIPS APM. The last link here that you see, the No Wrong Door, CMS provides free QPP technical assistance to practices that are required to report QPP. And so you can look at that QPP technical assistance resource to find out who in your state you need to reach out to get some free help. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Don to open up the webinar for questions.
Thank you, Sue. Very good. So at this point, I'd like to remind you that you can unmute your phone line by pressing *2. You can also type questions in the chat, and Margie will be monitoring the chat for questions. So I encourage you, any questions that you brought today or that have come up today on the call, they do not have to specifically be about alternative payment models. They can be about anything in the quality payment program, and we'll seek to find an answer for you. Do we have anyone, Karen, that's unmuted their phone to ask a question?
If you'd like to speak up on the call today, please just introduce yourself and your facility, and go ahead with your questions. We have the ability to open the line, so just *2, and then you'll hear an automated voice that says you're either muted or unmuted, and you can just go ahead. I'd love to hear from you today.
This is Margie. We actually do have a question that came in through the chat. The question is, are there bonus points if you are not part of an APM? Does someone on the panel want to take that one?
Margie, I'll take that one. This is Sue. Yes, there's bonus points regardless of if you are a MIPS APM or just subject to the MIPS scoring standard.
Very good. Margie, are there any other questions in chat?
Currently, there are not.
Okay. Well, I did we spent some time talking about some of the things that are complex about this. And some of the questions that have been coming up to us through our technical assistance efforts in the ATM Alliance. I'm going to call on some of our various panelists that are on the call today to discuss this. So, Daniel, I wondered if you would discuss a little bit, does the low volume threshold apply to MIPS eligible clinicians if they're in a MIPS APM?
Hey, Don. So, if a MIPS eligible clinician is in a MIPS APM, the eligibility determination is at the MIPS APM level. So if you're talking about a physician being meeting the low volume threshold as an individual but participating in that MIPS APM, that low volume at the individual level does not apply. So.
And what are those thresholds, just to remind us?
So that's $90,000 in allowed charges and 200 patients seen, or 200 patients.
200 Medicare patients. So those are pretty low thresholds for an entire APM entity. Well, for an individual, they may meet those thresholds, but the entity, most MIPS APMs will be over those thresholds you would expect, correct?
Yes, absolutely. It's hard to imagine any large MIPS APM to be under those particular thresholds.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. Mark, do you have any more questions come in? Or do we have anybody on the phone that wants to ask a question?
I have no other questions in the chat at the moment.
There's none right now. I wanted to ask Eric Irvin, some of the clinicians and groups that may be struggling to participate in MIPS, especially in 2017, are worried about the increased thresholds in 2018. Should they delay joining a MIPS APM until their performance is better?
Thanks, Don. This is Eric. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So that's kind of a loaded question, but no, not necessarily. If you're looking towards better performance, you can definitely look at joining an APM, and it could definitely help you with your MIPS score. You don't have to worry about through it, as has been discussed on this. You don't have to worry about doing some of the reporting components, and you have the benefit of earning score collectively that's achieved through the APM entity. So, no, you don't necessarily have to hold off, but you would definitely want to weigh some of the financial repercussions as well as the potential of your performance versus the APM's performance ultimately to determine, what works best for your group.
Thanks, Eric. Well, I'm going to invite Krista Thompson to join us in this call. Is one of our panelists that provides technical assistance. Eligible clinicians that participate, or will be eligible clinicians participating in a MIPS APM, receive a better score, you think, than those that are not participating in one?
No, not necessarily. That's not the way the program is designed. There are some advantages of being part of a MIPS APM and reporting as a group, but even within your own 10, you can report as a group, and there's some advantages there. There are also virtual groups that are available, so several smaller practices can band together and report MIPS together. And what it does when you're in a group, it kind of helps level things out. So if you have one that's not performing as well, but you have several that are performing better, it brings the group score up. So it's not necessary to be part of an APM, but there are some benefits to being part of the group.
Right, and there's just some administrative benefits that make the reporting easier, it appears, as well. But what you're saying, though, is that the scores themselves aren't necessarily going to be higher just because you're part of a group. There are some advantages administratively, and it can help even out scores for those that might be underperforming.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true. And when you bring up the administrative advantages, if you are looking particularly at the Medicare shared savings and a couple of those others, the group generally has an administrative body that really helps all of the clinicians within the group. And what's good about that is they can focus on all of those things that each of the participants needs needs to be doing to bring up their scores. So it especially helps with the smaller practices because everyone in a smaller practice wears multiple hats. So if you have that administrative core that's really their responsibility, it's like having an extra person in your practice to help push things along and get a better score.
Great point. Thank you. Okay. Take a break here and just do another check for questions in the chat or on the phone. Again, press *2 to unmute your line. This time is for you. We're trying to bring some of the questions that we're hearing, but if you have a question that you came with today or that our presentation today gave you, we'd welcome your participation. So please ask. And *2 to unmute your line.
And there are still no other questions in the chat, Don.
Okay, thanks, Marcia.
You're welcome.
So, Margie, since you're not getting any questions in the chat, I'll ask you to participate in another way and talk a little bit about how the performance scores are compared. Is a MIPS performance score for eligible clinicians that are part of a MIPS APM? Is that compared only to those that are in other MIPS APMs, or are they part of the wider national pool? Are they compared to the entire national pool of all MIPS eligible clinicians?
Well, that's a good question. MIPS performance is compared to all MIPS eligible clinicians. So if you report as a MIPS APM, you're going to be compared to all other MIPS eligible clinicians.
So it's not just those that you're not compared just among the APMs, it's the whole national pool.
It's the whole national, yes.
Right. Okay. Well, Sue, you were talking a little bit about the bonuses, and that might be a reason why a practice might want to, as part of an APM, why they might still want to report improvement activities. But talk about, there's another class of bonuses called the exceptional performance bonuses. If you talk a little bit about those, and are clinicians that are part of a MIPS APM, are they eligible for them?
Sure. Okay. So there is an exceptional performance bonus threshold. I believe it is the same as it was in 2017. Please somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but that threshold is 70 points out of 100. And both, okay, good. I'm glad that my memory serves me right. The both MIPS clinicians and MIPS APM clinicians are eligible for that exceptional bonus. And it is, I believe CMS has allocated $500 million for that exceptional performance bonus, and however many people exceed that 70-point threshold, then that money will be divvied up across those people that are considered exceptional performers.
Okay. So if you're a group or your clinicians are attempting to report fully for the entire year and get the best possible score, if you get above 70, you're eligible for that additional bonus. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the score of the MIPS APM participants. Sometimes, a practice is part of a MIPS APM, but then that MIPS APM decides to terminate their agreement or stop, end the APM, electronic payment model. What happens under those situations if you're part of an APM that, for lack of a better terminology, closes up shop during the middle of the year? What do you need to do?
So basically, Don, what you would want to do is, if the APM terminates prior to submitting data, the eligible clinicians should report MIPS under the general MIPS reporting rules. So basically, they would go back to their eligibility as individuals and or group and submit one of those two ways.
Yeah, And there have been some cases of that happening throughout the country and in the states that we serve. And that was something that's come up on a few calls and technical assistance calls we've had. Hopefully that doesn't happen if you're participating in an alternative payment model, but it's important to know that, like you said, Daniel, if it does terminate or during the year, you would have to be responsible for the full reporting that year. It's good to have a backup plan, right?
Absolutely.
All right. I want to shift a little bit, and Eric Irvin, let's bring you back in here. Talking about eligible clinicians that report to MIPS as an individual. If they report as an individual, but they're also part of an APM, how does that affect their final score? Do they get their individual score that they report if it's better, or do they get the APM score?
Hi, Don. Hey, this is Eric. Thanks for asking. I think this concept arises from a strategy that is out there a lot of times for groups. In the instance that you would want to report multiple ways for like a high-performing clinician when your group reports, and maybe a high-performing clinician believes that they can outdo the overall group average score. And in that case, if you're a non-APM group, and then also you have some that report as an individual, then CMS will choose the highest of the two scores. But in a circumstance where you are part of an APM, in about every circumstance, the APM score trumps every other reporting method. Whether you report as a group, individual, separate from the APM, they're still going to take the APM score, and that's what the individual eligible clinician will earn, is what's earned through the APM score. Even if you report as a virtual group and are part of an APM, you still get the APM score.
Okay. Priority things to go for the APM score, it sounds like.
Correct.
All right. Just wanted to rehash. I know, this is a very common question. Lots of questions about eligibility, both as individuals and groups, but then also, if they're part of an APM, how do you tell? I want to just reiterate that. How can you determine if you are in an APM, if CMS knows that and has you listed as part of the APM?
So, the NPI lookup tool where you go to determine eligibility will have that information upcoming, and also in the data submission tool. So where you went if you reported in 2017 through that data submission tool on the QPP site, you can log in there and it will tell you there as well. Not today, but that is coming. So CMS always lets us know what updates are available, so you could look for information from CMS to come out about that.
All right. Yeah, I think that's an important point. And, on the screen we have different ways that you can connect here with the ATM Alliance, with our Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Pinterest sites. But you can also contact us for technical assistance, anyone that's on the call. Chris, if you have the technical assistance phone number that you could post in chat.
I do.
Yeah, I figured you might. And this is a number that you can, even if you do have someone's direct number, you can use this technical assistance phone number, and it just ensures that, no matter what's happening, holidays or vacations, that we're going to see your question and get back to you within 24 hours, or at least one business day. And so that way we want to make sure that your questions, are given the priority they need and are answered in a timely fashion. It's a good way to contact us and get you in contact with one of these technical experts in your state.
Yeah, and to add to that, Don, just to let everyone know, we have that phone number available 8:30 to 5 Central Time, Monday through Friday. But you can also email us 24 hours a day at techassistsource.org, which I also put into the chat. And we want to encourage you to contact us sign up for our web portal as well, providers.exchange. And within that web portal, there's a chat option, and you can create your own tickets if you have questions. In other words, we try to be available in every possible way.
Right. And another benefit to that is, if you do sign up for the providers.exchange, in addition to getting announcements maybe from CMS, we'll also be sending out those announcements through all these methods, just to try to ensure that you get all the up-to-date information. So, like we were talking about the eligibility tool and the APM eligibility tool. As soon as those are updated now, we'll be making those notices available. All right, Margie, are there any questions in chat?
I'm checking on. No, I don't see any new questions in the chat. Anybody on the line, Karen?
No, again, *2, but I think we've reached our limit almost. Probably time for one question if somebody wants to *2 and unmute.
Give it just a moment then. Well, hearing no questions, I want to just give a big thank you to our speakers, Sue, and to our panelists, and to you, our participants, for joining the call. Adam Alliance staff is here to help you. There's no charge to you for our services if you call, get technical assistance from us. We are providing these technical assistance under contract with the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. So we want to make sure that you know we're here, and you can contact us anytime you have questions about these programs. Our goal is to help you succeed. So contact us if you have questions about what you've just heard or about anything with the Quality Payment Program or other improvement activity. And I would ask you to take a few moments to complete the post-event survey. Your feedback, again, is very valuable to us. It helps us plan what we're going to talk about on future events. And I do want to remind you that this call was recorded. The recording and the transcript will be posted on the adamalliance.org website. So thank you again for joining us, and have a great afternoon.